Good morning, everyone. My name is Elaine Stolte, and I'm the director of the Children's Assessment Center. I'd like to welcome you to a press conference for our district attorney's office, the sheriff's department, and a representative from our governor's office regarding the human trafficking issue here in Harris County. And as an agency that provides services to sexually abused children, I can tell you that I am so proud of the collaborative efforts that we have here in Harris County with the City of Houston, the Harris County Sheriff's Department, our District Attorney's Office, as well as our Governor's Office, all working together on figuring out a comprehensive plan as to how we will respond to the human trafficking issue here in Harris County. So with that said, I am extremely proud to ask our District Attorney, Kim Ogg, to come up to the podium to talk a little bit about this program.
Thank you, Elaine, for hosting this important press conference and announcement, something that will benefit the children and welfare of all citizens of Harris County. We are proud to announce at the District Attorney's Office the receipt during the last few weeks of grants totaling $4.4 million. And we're here specifically to thank the Governor's Office. We're right here. We're here specifically to thank the Governor's Office for shepherding these funds and directing them toward Houston's sex trafficking and human trafficking industry. You know, this problem, as Ruben Perez, the Bureau Chief of Special Crimes at the DA's office has said, it's not so much that Houston is the hub of sex and human trafficking, we're the hub of human trafficking prosecution. And so, yes, it always appears that we have, I think, a serious problem, and we do. But all cities are facing these problems right now, and I think the difference here in Houston is our willingness to pull together as a team to reach across governmental lines, county, state, and city, to reach across law enforcement traditional lines of just enforcement into the treatment community, and to work together to solve a problem that's affecting all of us. So what will these $4 million in grants do? Well, they will provide for many more victim services representatives and caseworkers. In fact, it will nearly double our staff that we currently have at the Harris County DA's Office Victim Witness Division. Additionally, it will pay for more enforcement. The bulk of this $4.4 million will go to going after not just the sellers in the sex and human trafficking industry, but the buyers who provide the marketplace, and as importantly, if not most importantly, the pimps and the traffickers themselves. And it's exciting to tell you that with a collective focus on moving up the food chain in terms of criminal liability, that we have arrested more sex traffickers in Houston this year, people promoting prostitution, people trafficking in human beings, than in any previous year at the Harris County DA's office. The money will also be used to provide social workers. All of the women who will be being arrested for prosecution, or the great bulk of them, especially the younger ones, will be referred to the Houston Area Women's Center. And we hope that the arrest is actually the beginning of a continuum of services for these young women. Meanwhile, the DA's office and the Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement will be mining the evidence for who's trafficking them. And we'll be investigating and prosecuting those individuals, as we have been doing. But there will be a lot more of it. And finally, we hope to leave and guide more victims out of prostitution, where we don't think that they are always willing partners, out of domestic violence situations that are dangerous. Some of this money will go to victims of domestic violence and their services, and to more effectively going after those who hurt our people here in Harris County. Crimes against people, that's what we're focusing on. So with that, I want to thank the Governor's Office, thank Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, thank Elaine Stolte of the Children's Assessment Center and all of our partners that are represented here today. Next will be Ed Gonzalez, Harris County Sheriff.
Thank you, District Attorney Ogg, and good morning, and thank you for being here today. And want to thank our District Attorney Kim Ogg for gathering all of us here today to announce this important infusion of additional resources to help our collective fight against human trafficking. I also want to thank Governor Abbott and his Criminal Justice Division. We have the Director of the Child Sex Trafficking Team, Ms. Sparks here. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank Elaine and all her team here at the Children's Assessment Center for your tireless work protecting the children of Harris County. Because of you, our investigators are better equipped to stop those who would harm our children. I'm sad to report that the sex trade demand in Harris County and throughout Texas is as strong as ever. A recent University of Texas study found that our state has an estimated 313,000 human trafficking victims, including nearly 79,000 children. The women, and even some men, trapped in the human trafficking web are victims, not criminals. This is why the Harris County Sheriff's Office partners with many organizations that work with these victims to help them escape their abusers and get their lives back on track. No child plans to enter the sex trade when they grow up. It's not a vocation that anyone wants for themselves. In recent years, the Harris County Sheriff's Office has shifted its efforts to curb prostitution away from arresting those who are selling their own bodies for sex and focusing instead on the Johns who seek them out. For example, looking at some of the statistics, in 2016, charges filed on buyers were 780, and for the women or the sellers, 1,405. If you compare that year to date, this year, 971 buyers compared to 820 sellers. So that shift is beginning. We've also seen that in 2016, charges on trafficking of child, 1 charge compared to 17 this year. So we're seeing a paradigm shift. We understand that to be able to combat this effectively, it's a team effort. That's why we're so proud to partner and to see the approach that Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg and her team have taken. They're doing amazing work, and we're glad to be able to partner with them and other law enforcement agencies and the work here at the Children's Assessment Center. And again, the funding that's provided by the state that makes it all possible. We greatly appreciate that. We collaborate. We know that tackling crime and crime prevention is a shared responsibility. Early this year, the Harris County Sheriff's Office partnered with the District Attorney's Office to conduct an undercover operation in collaboration with the National John Suppression Initiative. Nationally, more than 1,000 sex buyers were arrested during this operation, and 1/4 of those arrests happened here in Harris County. In hotel rooms across the county, 161 sexual predators offered our deputies money for sex, and that's when they were arrested. I'm grateful to the Harris County District Attorney's Office for their support of this operation and for their commitment to prosecuting these predators. I also want to thank all the men and women of the Harris County Sheriff's Office that work on these particular cases because they do amazing work each and every day. Congratulations once again, District Attorney Ogg, on winning this important grant that will bring even more resources to our county's fight against human trafficking. We're proud to work with you. And to all the offenders and predators out there, we're going to continue to come after them. We're going to continue to increase our resources, continue to build our collective efforts, because this is unacceptable. And in Harris County, we're going to send a strong message that if you haven't been caught yet, you will be caught. It's just a matter of time. So you better stop, because we're coming after you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm Andrea Sparks. I'm the director of the Child Sex Trafficking Team at the Governor's Office. And our vision is a state free of sex slavery of our children. Our mission is to prevent child sex trafficking from occurring in the first place, to combat it and help our law enforcement and prosecutorial partners prosecute it, and then to really provide the services that our victims need to heal and thrive. And I'm just so proud to be standing here today with these wonderful partners in Harris County who are fighting the fight against sex trafficking in this city. Sex trafficking is a huge problem in our state. We know that. And Houston is actually the #1 city in the number of calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. But like someone said before, I don't think it's just because we have a problem here in Houston. It also shows great awareness of the issue and the willingness of citizens to pick up the phone and call when they come across a victim, and the willingness of victims to pick up a phone and call when they need help. So there's an awareness here that is unparalleled in other parts of the country that we should be very proud of. This grant and the couple of grants that we're talking about today are just part of a larger paradigm shift that you're going to be seeing very soon, and you've already started to see in the arrests and the focus here today. The governor's office is working statewide with stakeholders, starting here in Houston, with these great people here today and with others, nonprofits, survivor leaders, to really look at the way we treat victims of sex trafficking and to say, you know what, there's no such thing as a child prostitute. We're not going to be arresting our teenagers who are trafficking victims and calling them prostitutes. They're victims. And they're victims of exploitation by traffickers, by facilitators, and by their buyers who sexually assault them. So let's call it for what it is. Instead of arresting these kids and these young adults, let's focus on giving them the trauma-informed response that they need to heal and to thrive and to become future citizens of this great city and this great state. So we're working really hard with our partners here to not only shift that paradigm, but also to provide the services that kiddos need to heal, that our young adults need to heal, like safe houses, like specialized foster care homes, like mentors and drop-in centers and advocates. You're going to be seeing an influx of those services here in Houston and around the state, and we're just really, really happy to be able to do it with all of these great partners here. So if Houston is the #1 city in the calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, let's make it the #1 city in trauma-informed response to its victims. I know we can do it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Andy Kahn, the Mayor's Crime Victims Director, Victim Advocate in the City of Houston. Today is a great day for victims' rights. I've always said for over 25 years that crime victims are the only unwilling participants in the criminal justice system. Everyone else chose their role, but no one asked to be a victim. And it's the least we can do in government is to look out for victims' rights, their well-being, their due process, and to make sure that the criminal justice system works for them and not just for the offender as well. When Kim and I were in the mayor's office some 20 years, some odd years ago, I don't want to date ourselves, but we would always say, you know, we just don't have the resources. It's just hard, you know, for victims. And 20 some odd years later, thank you, Kim, for recognizing what you and I talked about in the mayor's office in the 90s. Doubling the staff will give personalized service to each and every victim out there. I cannot tell you, and I know all the providers out here as well will probably echo what I'm about to say, that it's a constant battle that you get from victims is saying, no one will return my calls, no one told me about this, and this. That's going to end. The intangible costs that victims have to suffer are lifelong, and it's the least we can do to make sure that they are involved in the system. This will restore victims' faith in the criminal justice system. I cannot thank the District Attorney's Office enough for recognizing that victims do have a role in the criminal justice system, an important role, and they do have a say-so. And it's about time that we recognize that fact. So I want to thank everybody here for recognizing that victims, today's a day for you. We're out here for you in the city, in the county, and your days of being forgotten about are over. It's a new dawn, a new era, and it's a new era for crime victims' rights in Harris County. Thank you.
I know we also have some Spanish-speaking media here, so just briefly in Spanish. Estamos aquí esta mañana en el Children's Assessment Center. Le quiero agradecer a Elaine por este lugar tan importante en nuestra comunidad que ayuda a colaborar con diferentes agencias que trabajan para combatir el abuso de nuestros niños, de nuestros adolescentes. Quiero felicitar a la District Attorney del Condado de Harris, Kim Ogg, porque recibió estos fondos del Estado. También le agradecemos a la oficina que está representada aquí del gobernador Abbott, que dieron estos fondos para incrementar nuestros esfuerzos en combatir el abuso de seres humanos, el tráfico de seres humanos y abuso. También esos fondos ayudan a proteger a víctimas y todos estamos trabajando muy duro para cambiar nuestros esfuerzos. Anteriormente muchas veces los cargos eran puestos sobre las mujeres que estaban involucradas en áreas de prostitución. Ahora estamos tratando de cambiar para enfocar más en los que están comprando el sexo y decir que está contra la ley, y vamos a seguir nuestros esfuerzos, nuestra colaboración para ponerle alto a este tipo de comportamiento aquí en nuestro condado. Entonces, felicidades a Kim Ogg, a todos los que están aquí hoy para acompañarnos. Gracias.
Just want to thank our partners and explain to the media this is a combination of grants. Specific information will be available to you and we can answer questions. Here we have our prosecutors from our Sex Crimes Division, Domestic Violence Division, Victim Witness Division. We are joined by many of our partners from the community. Is Sheila Whittle here? There we go. Sheila Whittle from Free the Captive. She's a program director. Rebecca Pfeffer, assistant professor at the Department of Criminal Justice, UH Downtown. She's our research partner. We're having a symposium on criminal justice tomorrow. You're all invited to that as an aside. Allie Jacobs, the manager of counseling and advocacy at the Houston Area Women's Center.
She's not here, but
Sonia Corrales. And then Shelley Kennedy, she has been a crime victim and was on our transition team for victims' rights at the Harris County DA's office. So what you see today is really the culmination of decades of work by folks like Colleen Jordan and Andy Kahn and folks who've been in the trenches for years helping crime victims, along with those of us in government who are dedicated to leveling the playing field for all types of crime victims in Harris County. So I want to thank everyone for this opportunity to serve you and to work on the problems that we see in Harris County, like human trafficking, and to know that we have staunch supporters like Sheriff Gonzalez who are truly shifting the law enforcement paradigm. It's a big deal to turn the focus off the young people who are forced into lives of victimization and turn it back on the folks who exploit them. It's about time. Elaine Stolte, thank you and the Children's Assessment Center for having us here today.
Any questions from the media?
We can't, especially the Spanish-speaking media, and this goes to you, the district attorneys, maybe respond to the fact that several of these victims are undocumented, and we continue to see that they cannot come forward to report these crimes because they feel like not only they're going to be punished or maybe deported, but also they're going to be treated in a way that they're not the victims in cases like this. What can we say that these funds will actually help, especially when they have seen all the news on media about what's going on right now in the immigration system?
Well, I can answer that, and Sheriff can answer that as well. In terms of prosecution, there are special visas available for victims of sex crimes and other crimes, and those do help in terms of preserving the status of the person here in the country. And also, I think it's important for victims to know that in our DA's office, we do not ask your immigration status. We are satisfied to prosecute your perpetrators without regard to your national origin. And Sheriff might want to say something about it.
Sí, nosotros le recordamos al público que estamos ahí para apoyarnos. Como se mencionó, existen visas que los pueden proteger, que siguen allí, como la U-Visa, por ejemplo, para las víctimas, que nosotros trabajamos con ese tipo de sistema para darles el comprobante que han sido víctimas, y también lo que estamos viendo a nivel estatal, como quiera, se supone que sí se protege a víctimas también si es un caso de víctimas. No deben de ser las preguntas, sino ayudarles con su caso en ese momento. Entonces es lo que queremos recordar al público, que si realmente son víctimas, queremos que sepan que si hay protecciones como quiera. No es un mandato que se les tiene que preguntar a alguna persona que tiene contacto con policía, solamente es algo que se les permite a los oficiales en otros casos que pueden preguntar, pero no necesariamente un mandato que lo van a hacer. Entonces es algo que se está desarrollando todavía y queremos mantener la confianza del público, pero por eso estamos aquí, porque queremos apoyar y ayudar a todos. Entonces es el mensaje que queremos dar.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Rubén Pérez, soy el Bureau Chief del Special Crimes Bureau de aquí, del trabajo con Kemac, la fiscal. Un mensaje, por favor, si ustedes son víctimas de trata de personas, si llegaron a Estados Unidos ilegalmente o si están en Estados Unidos ilegalmente, no tiene que ver nada. La Constitución, las leyes de Estados Unidos van a proteger a las víctimas de la trata de personas. Si los ayudan a poner cargos a estos que hacen la trata de personas, si son víctimas de la trata de personas, no van a ser deportados, no van a ser deportados. El Congreso nos ha dado el poder, las leyes, como dijo el sheriff Ed González, a la U-Visa. También tenemos el poder de darle algo que en inglés se dice continued presence. Por un año puede estar en nuestro país con el estatus de estar aquí legalmente. Después de de estar aquí un año, puede tener una T-Visa, una U-Visa, y si siguen ayudándonos, puede ser que pueden ser ciudadanos de Estados Unidos. No tengan miedo, estamos aquí para servirles.
Mrs. Sparks brought up a topic about trauma-informed care, and we know for teen victims that recidivism is very common. Trauma-informed care is expensive. Did any of this money get to go to long-term residential care for minor teens or minor victims?
Not these particular grants, but yes, we do have grants going to trauma-informed care, specifically trust-based relational intervention. TCU has a trust-based relational intervention program that we gave money to start a collaborative here in the Houston area. We had our first training 2 weeks ago. I feel like I was just here. And it was fantastic, and we had a lot of victim services folks come up afterwards saying, how can we get more of this? We need more of this. And it was specifically for these victims. It's important to know that these kids do have a lot of recidivism, that these kids run, and they seem to go right back to the trafficker, and to understand that that is not a child being a juvenile delinquent. That is not a child being a bad child. That is a trauma response. It is wired into their brains. They have been traumatized, and that's the only way they know how to act, is to fight, flight, or freeze. So we are learning about that as a community in Houston and applying those trauma-informed responses to investigations and prosecutions as well.
Could you more specifically break down how the grant money will be used in the various centers?
Yes. I can a little bit, and then we have people who can go into it in further detail. It's 4 grants totaling $4.4 million. $1 million is just for sex trafficking, and it's spent on a variety of ways: extra prosecutors, extra victim services and counseling, the referral process to HAWK, and some of the services that they will be referring people to in the continuum of services. And in that grant, adults will continue to be arrested. The difference, however, is instead of convicting them or keeping them in jail an average of 5, 10, 15 days, many of them longer, they will be placed on pretrial intervention and referred to services. And this will not mar their criminal record, but it will give the court and, well, it'll give the district attorney's office the ability to enforce to some degree their participation in the programs. $3 million was received from the governor's office for assisting victims of violent crime. It's a VOCA grant that comes through the governor's office and through HCAC, I believe. Is that right? And it is directed at assisting crimes against people. That's mainly what Andy Kahn was referring to. We will nearly double the size of our victim witness staff. And people like Michelle Permiter and Colleen Jordan will have more assistance to help reach out to victims directly. This aids prosecutors in their daily prosecution duties. And then $400,000 or so will be spent just on domestic violence and adult rape. Our domestic violence prosecution unit is led by Carvana Cloud. She has several of her prosecutors here. And that is to, as you know, we've had a dirge of domestic violence deaths, and that is to directly address that problem through increased prosecution and more victim services.
And without the money or prior to it, do you feel like there's been a backlog with, now you need to have more staffing? Do you feel like because you didn't have those numbers, there's been any sort of backlog in these cases?
Well, we know there's been backlogs in the system from everything from rape kits to all throughout the system, investigations, prosecutions, and trials. And I think the entire collective that you see here, city, county, state, government, recognize the importance and priority that our communities place on these types of public safety problems. And we're trying to hit those problems first. That's part of why we're diverting so many other low-level offenders to things outside of court. We need to focus on the problems that hit us the hardest.